delicious. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Marissa and I like to talk about books and book design. Today I'm going to be sharing some book recommendations through a kind of fun method, which is the Girl Scout cookie book tag. I was tagged by both the Mild Rumpus and Graham Matthews to do this tag, so thank you both. If you're not subscribed to them, you definitely need to check out their channels because they're both so funny and they give lots of great recommendations. But with that, let's go ahead and get into the tag. I have a list of prompts here that are paired up with the types of cookies that will guide me in my recommendations for you. The first one being trefoils, which is a classic that you loved. I really am a classic lover, so this was kind of hard for me to narrow it down, but as soon as I locked in, I knew without a doubt what my answer would be, and that is Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. If you haven't read this one, Great Expectations is the perfect amount of mystery and intrigue and drama. It follows our main character Pip, who is a poor boy, and one day he's randomly given a large sum of money by some mystery donor that wants him to be raised up in society, and the whole book is him kind of trying to figure out who gave him this money. He's being brought into society by this very mysterious and odd figure, Miss Havisham. Miss Havisham is probably my favorite character in all of literature. She is the epitome of the drama. Miss Havisham was stood up on her wedding day, and years later she's still wearing her wedding dress. The feast that she was supposed to have at her wedding is still laid out and completely moldy and disgusting. I think the clock in the room, also the hands are stopped at the time when she was supposed to get married. It's just so dramatic and wonderful, and I have never related to a character more, because if I got stood up at the altar, I would make it everyone's problem as well. There's just so much that goes on in here, and I absolutely love it. If you haven't read this one, you definitely need to. And for my Swifties out there, if you've read this, then you know, you agree with me. Without a doubt, I feel like the character Miss Havisham inspired Taylor Swift to write Right Where You Left Me. She is the definition of I Stayed There. That is my favorite classic and one of my favorite books of all time, Great Expectations. Next we have Lemon Ups, which is a book that inspires you. And the first thing that came to mind was Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmus. We've all kind of been talking about this book or hearing about it, so I won't get too into detail. If you didn't watch my top books of 2023, this was my top of the line, creme de la creme book of 2023. And it's kind of the epitome of a girl boss book. And I hate to throw that word around, but it tells the story of a woman in the 50s, maybe early 60s, fighting for her career as a chemist in a obviously very male-dominated field, and all the hardships she goes through and the struggles just to exist as a woman. And I found the story so inspiring. It really made me be like, okay, maybe I can do anything. Okay, if he can do it, I can do it better. I just remember reading it and crying at how touched I was, and looking at how far women have come, but also how far they still have to go. And it was a book that when I read it, it just made me be like, okay, let's go women. I need to fight for women. So yeah, I found it very inspiring and I loved it a lot. The next prompt is S'mores, which is a comforting book. When I think of a comforting book, I think of Yerba Buena by Nina LaCour. Yerba Buena is a sapphic love story about these two women who come from very different places but run into each other. They fall in love in a very beautiful way, even though they both have very different backstories that are troubling in their own way. They come together and form this very beautiful relationship that's kind of one of those loves. It's like when you found your person, when you know, you know. And I thought it was just so sweet and lovely. And something I think that's comforting about it is that this is a sapphic love story that the main drama and conflict does not revolve around them having to come out or getting outed in any way. I can imagine myself rereading this just to curl up with a good book and revisit some really good and comforting characters. The next prompt is Adventurefuls, which is an adventurous book. And for that, I want to talk about Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. She's definitely piping hot on BookTube right now. I feel like everyone's talking about her. This was another one of my top books of 2023, and I love this one. I think it is so thrilling and fast-paced, and it's very adventurous in that you're always on the move. This is a story about a character that's stuck in a multiverse type of situation and trying to find his way back home to his family. I think it's definitely adventurous in that you get to see all his different lives. They're usually quite hectic situations that he has to get out of very quickly, so it feels like very adventurous, and he's definitely on a journey. But I also thought this was a good one to recommend because it's a little bit adventurous in that it's a sci-fi book, and I don't read a lot of sci-fi, and I feel like a lot of you all don't read sci-fi very often, so maybe it's adventurous in that this book might be out of your comfort zone, but I still think you should give it a shot. If you are in a reading slump, pick this book up. It leaves you constantly turning the page to find out what happened next, so it's a really great one. Our Samoa's prompt is a book that mixes 2 or more genres. For that, I thought of The Cherry Robbers by Sarai Walker. The Cherry Robbers it's a period piece, it's a mystery, and it is a little bit paranormal. It follows this family of girls who their legacy is that their family invented some type of gun. Their mother believes that that has cursed their family. Everyone who's died at the hands of these guns is haunting them. When each of the daughters gets married, immediately after she dies, some very strange and somewhat horrific manner. The book is very much focused on like the family drama and growing up with what most of the daughters assume is a crazy mother. But there's one, our main character, I think her name's Sylvia, but I cannot remember for the life of me. She believes her mother and she believes the curse and she wants to protect and save her sisters. It's messy. Next up is a heavy hitter. We have Do-Si-Dos, which is either a book you love that everyone seems to hate or a book you hate that everyone seems to love. I really couldn't think of a book that I love that everyone hates, so I'm going to talk about a book I hate that everyone loves, but I just want to say I by no means hate this book. I rated it 3 stars. I did enjoy it, but I was massively let down because I think it was quite overhyped on BookTube and BookTok, and that would be Divine Rivals. Please hear me. I don't hate this book. I had fun reading it. It was fun, but the way the girlies were talking about it, I thought I was about to have a new obsession. I was prepared for like fantastic world building, great characters, and a love story that would leave me giggling and kicking my feet. And I was left disappointed. I feel like the world building was one of the worst world buildings I had read in a long time. It fell super flat for me. This is a fantasy book, and I say that very lightly because it feels like there's not a lot of fantasy elements in it, actually. What's going on is there's this great war between 2 gods that have been fighting. I think maybe it would have benefited from the author just using existing like Greek mythology perhaps, because I felt like the gods were so random to me and I didn't really connect or understand their lore. It just didn't feel very fleshed out. I enjoyed the characters well enough. Roman is just kind of obsessed with Iris. It seems like everything he does and every thought he has is revolved around Iris, where she at least thinks about the war and her family. Roman is literally just there to adore Iris, which I guess maybe that's why people like it. But for me, I was just like, I don't believe you. I don't believe a man would be doing all this. I still probably will read Ruthless Vows, but I definitely will not be purchasing a copy. I will just check it out from the library because I kind of regret buying this. Because I bought it because you all made me think I was gonna love it. No, not to blame anyone else. It's fine. It's a fine book. And I do see why people like it, and it is totally okay if you love it, and I'm so sorry if I offended you by saying that. But yeah, it's just not for me. And our last tag, which is tagalongs, is to tag some other booktubers who I want to see answer these prompts. I would love to see Carolyn from Hobby Journals, Virgil from Literally Books, Monsi from Mons Park, and Emily from Once Upon an Emily Reads. Very interested to know how you all would answer these prompts, so if you're interested in making a video, feel free to do so, but I will not be offended if you don't. And of course, if anyone else watching wants to do it, then I tag you as well. And if you're not a booktuber, then feel free to leave some of your answers in the comments below, especially the Do-Si-Do one. I'm feeling like stirring the pot after answering it myself, so feel free to start some discussions, start some arguments in the comments, but of course, be nice to everyone. And that's all I have for you. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you got a good recommendation. I unfortunately can't remember who came up with this tag at the moment, but I will tag them right here. Thank you for creating the tag. Once again, thank you to the Mild Rumpus and Graham Matthews for tagging me, and I'll catch you in the next one.